Welcome to the Odds Breakers, number one place for shared, sharp betting information.
Welcome back to podcast 15 of 2020. I'm your host, Kiev O'Neill. You can follow me on Twitter at OBKiev, follow us at The Odds Breakers, and follow us on social media / The Odds Breakers. This episode is brought to you by jazzsports.ag. For a 150% bonus, you can please visit Jazz Sports. Use the promo code ODDSBREAKERS. Terms and conditions apply. If you'd like to help us out with our costs and sponsor the podcast, please visit theoddsbreakers.com, click shop, and become a member. For $17.99 a month, you can get my plays and premium plays before the line moves, as well as some handicapping pages on the site. For $2 more, you can have all that and become a patron subscriber, get the podcast a little bit early. And if nothing else, please visit theoddsbreakers.com and become a free picks newsletter subscriber. So, March sadness has approached, and it's definitely a sad time for a lot of people here. Lots of things were canceled, obviously, and first people like to think that, yeah, it affects me watching sports. This sucks. I can't bet on it. But more importantly, it affects the people that make money from that and use it as a sole way of living and, paying for goods and services. And there's a lot of people I know that are in the media, and especially when it comes to sports betting, which is affected more than just generally talking about sports itself. So I definitely feel for all those people, the people that give us our great plays every single week, every single day. It's affecting. And so it affects a lot of different industries as well. The restaurant industry, the travel industry, just a lot of people are staying home, and we don't really know what the economic impact is going to be for this COVID-19 virus here. So it's tough to tell what the right move really is. There's some people are saying there's a massive overreaction. Some people are saying that there's an underreaction still at this point. The TV likes to show a lot of people in hospital beds and things like that. I guess the biggest overreaction would be for everybody just to never go outside, don't go to work, don't work whatsoever, and have the whole world shut down. That would probably be a bit of an overreaction. And a bit of an underreaction would be to do nothing and just keep going on and visiting, elderly people in nursing homes while they possibly get sick, because they're very prone to this virus. They catch the virus quicker. So as far as shutting down the NCAA and some of the other leagues, I'm not so sure a complete shutdown is warranted. I personally believe postponement is, but at the same time, I don't know if that's possible in the NCAA. And the reason that is just a lot of people that rely on the tournaments, some of the other sports as their way of making a future, getting drafted, people obviously putting their lives into this whole thing. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to that. So I'm not so sure canceling was the right thing, but at the same time, I don't know. Maybe it was. Postponement seems to be something you should do when there's just so much uncertainty, going on about this whole thing. We're not going to know the true impact of this, obviously, until probably months later. The CDC has recommended that any gatherings over 50 people for the next 8 weeks should be canceled or postponed, and I think most people are following that. I wonder if it's actually going to be reduced if obviously the country makes good progress, or if the virus goes away. What we're reading here is, it's not heat resistant. I don't know how hot it's going to take, though, for it to be outside in order to lessen the virus out there. But at the same time, there's just another thing that's completely unknown. tough thing for the people I know, many of the people I know, is that sports handicapping and being in the media was their number one source of income, and they're taking a big hit for that. And so are a lot of people in the United States and other industries, as I mentioned earlier, and that's the toughest part about it. But the most important thing is that we all stay safe, obviously. So we'll see what the right thing should have been later, and hopefully the country and everyone in the world will learn from this. We've actually had to make some changes here. Obviously, all members of the Odds Breakers and premium subscribers are being credited back for at least the next month, just due to the fact that we can't really bring them many services. I'm still going to handicap what's available, futures, maybe NFL more, some college football, season win totals. UFC isn't canceled as of yet, so going to look at that with Cub Fan Danny, definitely a lot more if some of these events keep going on. At least that way we can bring you something for your sports betting experience and enjoyment for the weekends. So this episode, as we know, was supposed to talk about conference tournaments. We were supposed to have Adam Burke from Bang the Book on. We had to postpone that because baseball's completely changed as well, and we don't know how many games are going to be played or when that season is going to start. I was up in Vegas seeing Kelly and Marco and Ralph and at Wager Talk there, did some videos with them, but unfortunately everything that I put into that didn't work out because of the cancellations. Didn't see that coming. So all for nothing. I think a lot of us are kind of feeling that. We put a lot of work into it, but the best thing I can say is just try to enjoy it as much as you can. Spend some time with family and start doing some fun things. I went out and got a Nintendo Switch, played some old games I used to play with my kids, and it actually turned out pretty fun. My wife played it as well and had a good time. So just try to do some other things to distract you. And, sports isn't everything. You can obviously, find a lot of ways to pass the time and possibly do some things that you've been looking to do and kind of putting off for a long time. This is the time to do it. And just try to keep yourself, obviously, away from people if you can. And, let's all try to get through this together. So lots of NFL news is going on. They're actually still pounding away. They're not meeting together. They're all mostly working from home, but GMs can do that. There's been lots of news, franchise tags, and things like that happening. Just what happened right now, DeAndre Hopkins just got traded for David Johnson. The Texans get David Johnson in a second-round pick, and the Arizona Cardinals get DeAndre Hopkins and a fourth-round pick. Well, I don't know what's going on there, but I think the Texans got robbed. Hopkins is probably one of the top two wide receivers in the whole league and a difference maker, and they traded him for a running back. So I'm extremely confused on how that thing went down, but just looking at it from the outside, unless Hopkins wanted out of there and was threatening, the Arizona Cardinals definitely won that trade. Still no news on where Brady's going to go, but Kenyon Drake for the Cardinals just got a transition tag, which means that they can match any offer from any other team and retain Kenyon Drake. Teams, I believe, get 2 transition tags a year. So that's interesting. Matt Judon got a franchise tag from the Ravens, outside linebacker. A.J. Green got franchise tagged by the Bengals because they're probably going to try to either trade him or maybe even retain him for a weapon for their new quarterback coming in. And Dak Prescott, of course, was franchise tagged. He'll make $31.5 million, which is the average of the top, I think it's the top 5 salaries you average for the franchise tag for the first year. But anyways, good for Dak. Either way, he's going to get some money, but he could hold out if he doesn't get the contract that he's requesting, which is upwards to almost $40 million a year. Justin Simmons from Denver, franchise tagged, going to make about $11.4 million. Who else we got? Chris Jones from Kansas City, defensive end, got franchise tagged for $16 million. Hunter Henry, franchise tag for $10.6 million. Don't really get that. He's really never healthy. from the Chargers. Joe Thuney, a guard for New England, $14.7 million franchise tag. Leonard Williams, defensive end for the Giants, $16 million franchise tag. Bud Dupree, outside linebacker for the Steelers, $15.8 million franchise tag. Shaq Barrett for Tampa Bay, a linebacker, $15.8 million franchise tag. Derrick Henry, running back for the Tennessee Titans, $10.2 million on a franchise tag. And I remember running backs' franchise tag used to be a lot higher than that, but over the last few years, running back salaries have tanked. as we noticed, kind of since Adrian Peterson faded away, their salaries have been going way down. Brandon Scherf of the guard for the Redskins, he got franchised at $14.78 million. And that's all I have for now for NFL franchise tags. They have some win totals released, but they're juiced, minus 115 on both sides on average. So there's a couple I'm looking at, but no moves just yet. Possibly the next podcast, I might have one of those plays for you. But as I said before, I don't like to bet until after the draft and after moves are made, because you can end up being way off. So I'd be shocked if I do have a play. It'd probably be only one. But the NFL, to me, isn't figured out until after the draft. And then you can start making some moves. In college football, I think as information comes out, you can do it a little bit earlier because you already know their schedule. You already know who's going to be playing for the team. For the most part, you know who your starting quarterback is. And you know what your returning production is, if you look in the right areas. So the NFL and the CBA have come up to an agreement for the labor agreement, obviously, for the next, all the way till 2030. And basically, the players will get a higher share of the total revenue from 47% to up to 48.5% now by adding a 17th game and 2 more teams in the playoffs. So this would mean the top team, instead of the top 2 teams, would get a bye for the AFC and the NFC. And it also means that there will be a neutral site game for every single team, whether it be in London or Mexico or somewhere else. So what this change is going to do is going to give a much higher base salary. League minimum, let's say, goes from like $420,000 to $610,000, something like that, which is great for most of the players. Now, a lot of the highly paid players don't like it, but at the same time, they're not making the bare minimum. So completely 2 different ways of thinking. The thing I don't like is I think that load management is going to come into play a little bit more, just like in the NBA. The NBA regular season is pretty much worthless, and nobody cares about it until the playoffs. But at least that's my thoughts and some of the people I talk to's thoughts. So I don't want that to happen to the NFL. But at the same time, they want to give your team a chance to win. 2 more teams in the playoffs will do that. They're kind of walking that fine line. I just hope that they don't add any more teams in the future and try to make a money grab. I also think rosters should be expanded, but that would also mean less money for the players. So if they want to, players start using load management and people get hurt, it's always good to have more players, in my opinion. So found that interesting. There's no information on any rule changes at this point, but in 2020, which is this year, the playoffs could add those 2 extra teams if they want, and the actual 17 games is not going to happen until 2021. That's all we have for the show today. It's going to be a short show, but we'll have some more topics for the next one, hopefully some UFC plays for you. In the meantime, have a great week. Enjoy the time with your family.